hearts and prayers go out to her family and friends during this profoundly difficult time. Aber was appointed by former President Biden as the top prosecutor in the Eastern District of Virginia in 2021. She and her staff of roughly 300 prosecuted a number of high-profile cases, including cyber and drug cases. She also prosecuted war crimes in Ukraine.
We at the Eastern District of Virginia are proud to stand with the Criminal Division as part of the Department of Justice's efforts to hold perpetrators of war crimes violations accountable.
Aber resigned January 20th of this year when President Trump took office.
Her successor at the Eastern District called her a mentor and a proud Virginian since high school, saying that she loved the Eastern District and the Eastern District loved her back. Lindsay?
Our thoughts are certainly with her family tonight. Alex, thank you. Next, the urgent search for 2 suspects in a mass shooting at what police called an after-hour sports bar in Houston. This surveillance video shows people running from the gunfire. 6 men were injured, and at least 4 of them are in critical condition. The new details coming in tonight, and the new developments in that deadly shooting at an unsanctioned car rally in New Mexico. Here's ABC's Melissa Adon.
Tonight, a manhunt underway in Houston after 6 people were wounded, 4 critically, in a shooting at this sports bar, which officials say was operating illegally after hours.
Nightclub callers advising individuals firing into the location.
Police responding to reports of shots fired around 3 a.m. Surveillance video showing people frantically fleeing the scene. Officials believe an argument between 2 people escalated into gunfire. One man seen pointing a weapon towards the entrance of the club.
I got a male shot on the neck and another one shot on the arm.
Authorities releasing images of 2 men they believe are suspects seen driving a black Toyota Corolla at the scene. Police say the club should not have been open, saying it was serving alcohol past 2 a.m. without a permit.
Establishments like this that harbor within our city contribute to crime, that harbors the DWIs and the assaults. And this is exactly what we saw here tonight.
It comes as 4 suspects have now been arrested in a separate mass shooting in Las Cruces, New Mexico Friday night that left 3 dead and 15 wounded at an unsanctioned car rally. Authorities charging 20-year-old Tomas Rivas, 2 17-year-old juveniles, and a 15-year-old with 3 counts of murder each. Shaquan Hextall says he was at that car show when the gunfire erupted.
Can you describe the moment that things went wrong?
I heard the pop start going off, and I'm thinking that someone's car, like their exhaust backfiring. So once the gunfire stopped, I'm looking around and I see the bodies on the ground.
Lindsay, Houston and Las Cruces police are still investigating and also looking into any active leads. This as they ask for the public's help in asking them to send any photos or videos from either of those shootings. Lindsay?
Melissa, thank you. Overseas now to a grim milestone in Gaza. More than 50,000 Palestinians have died since the start of the war. The stunning video captured a strike on a building in Gaza City, people fleeing for safety. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he spoke with U.S. Secretary Marco Rubio. Here's ABC's Matt Rivers in Tel Aviv tonight.
As the IDF expands its attacks in Gaza, and any talks of a renewed ceasefire between Israel and Hamas have stalled, tonight health officials say the death toll in Gaza now topping 50,000 since the war began. Nearly 700 people killed since Tuesday alone, says the Gaza Health Ministry. Hundreds more injured and aid still not getting in. The threat of a hunger crisis still growing. And like so many times before, thousands of Palestinians on the move once again. The IDF putting out multiple new evacuation orders, moving civilians, they say, in order to target pockets of Hamas fighters. Neighborhoods once again turned into battlefields. The IDF saying they'll continue to seize more areas in Gaza until Hamas releases the remaining several dozen hostages. And tonight, the IDF targeting Nasser Hospital, one of Gaza's largest still operational, saying a Hamas leader was operating from inside. 1 dead, many wounded in the attacks. And Gaza's most vulnerable, its roughly 1 million children, continue to suffer. UNICEF says at least 180 have been killed since Tuesday alone. A brutal return to war after 8 weeks of ceasefire peace. And Lindsay, tonight, the Trump administration firmly standing behind Israel, saying it had every right to restart this war after Hamas refused to keep negotiating. Hamas, of course, accuses Israel of breaking the ceasefire, but no matter which side you're on, the horrors in Gaza continue. Lindsay?
Matt Rivers reporting from Tel Aviv tonight. Thank you, Matt. We'll take a turn now to those thrilling finishes and nail-biters in the NCAA tournament. Let's bring in ABC's Ike Ajaji, who's been watching all the game action today in men's and women's college basketball. So, Ike, who's out and who gets to live to see another day?
Well, Lindsay, with a spot in the Sweet 16 on the line, the remaining teams left fans fearing for their brackets as big upsets and thrilling finishes made for an exciting second round. Now, the weekend starting with an iconic showdown. John Calipari and the Arkansas Razorbacks beating Rick Pitino and the St. John's Red Storm. But it was the nightcap that had fans on the edge of their seats. 6th seed BYU holding off a late rally from number 3 Wisconsin, beating them by only 2 points, reaching the Sweet 16 for the first time in more than a decade. And if you were still awake, number 8 Gonzaga giving the top seed Houston a scare. The Cougars holding on late, though. UConn's bid for a 3rd straight title ending tonight, falling to the Florida Gators by just 2 points. And top teams down to the wire on the women's side, too. Defending champs South Carolina rolling past Indiana, continuing their dominant run to a repeat. And Lindsay, as far as those Cinderellas, McNeese and Drake, well, the dance has ended for them. But if you're looking for more long shots to possibly go all the way, there'll be more games tomorrow on the women's side as they continue the second round of their tournament. Lindsay?
Hope your brackets are still intact there, Ike. Thank you. There's still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Sunday. A disturbing image shows a coach pulling a player's hair and what happened next. And an arrest in a shocking murder, a woman accused of killing her wife after previously killing her husband. Next tonight, a California woman accused of stabbing her wife to death last month is now in U.S. custody. Yolanda Marodi was arrested in Mexico and turned over to U.S. Marshals on Saturday. Prosecutors allege that she attacked her wife, a fire captain, after learning that she planned to leave her. In 2003, Yolanda Marodi pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter in the stabbing death of her husband and was sentenced to 11 years in prison. A high school basketball coach in New York State was fired Friday night for shocking behavior after his team lost a state championship game. An NFHS network live stream shows Northville girls head coach Jim Zullo yanking the ponytail of one of his players. Zullo, who is 81 years old, told our Albany station WTEN the player had cursed at him after he told her to shake hands with the other team. Police are now looking into whether charges should be brought. When we come back, why a jetliner made an unexpected stop on the way to China. An overseas flight was forced to divert last night for an unusual reason. United Flight 198 took off from Los Angeles for Shanghai, China, when the crew suddenly asked to divert to San Francisco. There was nothing wrong with the plane. It turns out a 787. One of the pilots had forgotten their passport. Passengers were given meal vouchers and a new crew took them to China. Turns out the same thing reportedly happened on a United flight last week. When we come back, why this nurse shares a special bond with her patients. Finally tonight, America Strong, the nurse with a unique understanding about what her patients have to endure. Erin Kinlan is much more than a nurse and patient advocate. She knows just what her patients are experiencing.
How are you doing?
She provides care and counseling to patients with multiple sclerosis at the Banner Neuroscience Institute in Phoenix.
I want them to live the life that they want to lead.
Erin's empathy was born out of her own MS diagnosis as a college student 21 years ago. At the time, she was terrified about what the future would hold until a chance meeting with a nurse.
The nurse came in, saw the tears pouring down my face, asked what was wrong, and just let me cry. It was comforting. I said, I want to be that person for someone else.
Today, Erin is paying it forward, sharing that same comfort and support with her patients. When 26-year-old patient Corey Bartlett learned that she had MS, thoughts of losing control of her body and mind raced through her head.
I thought, I'm not going to be able to be an occupational therapist anymore.
Thanks to Erin's openness, she's able to see just what's possible.
She is just the most reassuring person I have ever met.
Outside of work, Erin leads an active life, which includes hikes with her boyfriend, Peter.
Life doesn't stop when you get this diagnosis. You can live whatever life you want to live.
Great reminder for us all. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Lindsay Davis.